Feature: A Nation for Every One of Us. Getty Images.
I have just been to Buckingham Palace, where Her Majesty the Queen has asked me to form a new government, and I accepted. David Cameron has led a one-nation government, and it is in that spirit that I also plan to lead. Because not everybody knows this, but the full title of my party is the Conservative and Unionist Party. And that word unionist is very important to me. It means we believe in the union, the precious, precious bond between England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland. But it means something else that is just as important. It means we believe in a union not just between the nations of the United Kingdom, but between all of our citizens, every one of us, whoever we are and wherever we're from. That means fighting against the burning injustice that if you're born poor, you will die on average 9 years earlier than others. If you're black, you're treated more harshly by the criminal justice system than if you're white. If you're a white working class boy, you're less likely than anybody else in Britain to go to university. If you're at a state school, you're less likely to reach the top professions than if you're educated privately. If you're a woman, you will earn less than a man. If you suffer from mental health problems, there's not enough help to hand. If you're young, you'll find it harder than ever before to own your own home. If you're from an ordinary working class family, life is much harder than many people in Westminster realise. You have a job, but you don't always have job security. You have your own home, but you worry about paying the mortgage. You can just about manage, but you worry about the cost of living and getting your kids into a good school. If you're one of those families, if you're just managing, I want to address you directly. I know you're working around the clock. I know you're doing your best, and I know that sometimes life can be a struggle. The government I lead will be driven not by the interests of the privileged few, but by yours. We will do everything we can to give you more control over your lives. When we take the big calls, we'll think not of the powerful, but you. When we pass new laws, we'll listen not to the mighty, but to you. When it comes to taxes, we'll prioritise not the wealthy, but you. When it comes to opportunity, we won't entrench the advantages of the fortunate few. We will do everything we can to help anybody, whatever your background, to go as far as your talents will take you. We are living through an important moment in our country's history. Following the referendum, we face a time of great national change. And I know, because we're Great Britain, that we will rise to the challenge. As we leave the European Union, we will forge a bold, new, positive role for ourselves in the world. And we will make Britain a country that works not for a privileged few, but for every one of us. That will be the mission of the government I lead, and together we will build a better Britain.
Unit 16. Thatcher has talks with Schmidt, Lynch. Kyodo, Reuter. Less than 1 week in office as Europe's first woman prime minister, Margaret Thatcher of Britain has launched herself into foreign policy issues by hosting 2 important summit meetings in a single day. Mrs. Thatcher, 53, first met Thursday with Irish Prime Minister Jack Lynch at her London residence, 10 Downing Street, to discuss the bloody conflict in British-ruled Northern Ireland. She then started a 2-day summit conference with another European Common Market leader, West German Chancellor Helmut Schmidt. In a dinner address, Mrs. Thatcher pledged her support for strong military defenses in Western Europe and committed her government to working actively to develop the common market. She told Schmidt, "We shall play our full part. with such measures as may be necessary in countering the military threat. Mrs. Thatcher did not identify the source of the threat, but there was little doubt that she was referring to the Soviet Union, which describes her as the Iron Lady because of her tough speeches against communism. And her government has just honored a campaign pledge by boosting a military pay increase to 32% to maintain and improve the capability of Britain's armed forces. Mrs. Thatcher made clear her government's position on membership in the nine-nation common market, still a controversial issue in Britain. We believe it is not only right for Europe, but right for this country. Our purpose is to engage fully and actively with our partners in developing the community. But Mrs. Thatcher served warning to the other member countries that they would not find her government a soft touch. Unit 17. Merkel is Germany's first female chancellor. AP. Angela Merkel was sworn in Tuesday in Berlin as Germany's first female chancellor, taking power at the helm of an unwieldy alliance of the right and left tasked with turning around Europe's biggest economy. The inauguration ceremony in Parliament formally sealed the Conservatives' assumption of power after lawmakers earlier voted 397 to 202, with 12 abstentions, to make Merkel Germany's eighth leader since World War II, succeeding Gerhard Schroeder, whose 7-year coalition government of his Socialist Democratic Party and the Greens was ousted by voters September 18th. Unlike Schroeder, Merkel, leader of the Christian Democratic Union, completed the oath of office with the optional ending, "So help me God." Merkel's inauguration comes 6 months after Schroeder announced that he was seeking national elections a year early, plunging Germany into political uncertainty, and more than 2 months after an inconclusive election forced Germany's biggest parties into talks on a so-called Grand Coalition between Merkel's Conservatives and the center-left SPD. Merkel has been forced into awkward compromises on taxes and welfare state reforms that some fear could undermine her coalition with the SPD and slow efforts to fix a lagging economy. However, the SPD's parliamentary leader said he was sure the new government will succeed. "For that, we require a strong chancellor," said Peter Struck, defense minister under Schroeder. "The foundation stone will be set with the election of Ms. Merkel." But a question mark hangs over how effective and durable the coalition will be. Merkel bargained away key campaign pledges such as limiting union power in regional wage negotiations and accepted an SPD demand for a rich tax on top earners.